All right, let's dive into it. How do you be taken seriously as a buyer and get the best deals first? That's the subject today. We want to make sure that you, as buyers, know how to position yourself so that you get the attention of the sellers, the brokers, the lenders, everyone in the process. Here's the truth: most people who inquire about a business never buy one. They're what we call tire kickers. When I say most people who inquire about a business, I'm talking about 999 out of 1,000 don't end up buying a business. So, from a broker standpoint, and that's the approach I'm going to take here, it is a lot of tire kickers that we have to sort through to try and figure out who's serious, who really the right background, who's got the need, who's been vetted and qualified and really is going to be that one out of 1,000 to buy a business. So I get emails all the time, hundreds, honestly, per day, asking for financials, asking to tour the business. But when it comes down to actually writing an offer, they end up disappearing. But the small group of buyers who actually get taken seriously, that's what we're going to talk about today. They get the first look at the best deals. Sellers trust them, brokers prioritize them, banks line up to work with them. So today, I'm going to show you how to be in that group. Why do sellers and brokers instantly know who's serious and who isn't? In other words, what's the vetting process? What's the filtering process? Because the serious buyers come prepared. That's the initial process that we're looking at. They don't just say, I'm interested. They don't just shoot off a generic opt in for an NDA and then expect to be taken seriously. They show they're capable of closing. Think of it like dating. If you show up without showering, without any effort, you know you're not going to be taken seriously. The same principles apply here. Let me give you just a quick story. I had two buyers inquire on the same business. Obviously, more than two buyers, but for the sake of the story, these two buyers inquired. One sent me a two-line email, basically said, I signed the NDA, send me the numbers, and that was it. Didn't say any background, any even a nice polite introduction, just a quick send me the numbers. No resume, no proof of funds, no real context. I had no idea what sort of background this individual had. The other buyer sent me a clean intro, included his background, attached proof of funds, had already had a pre-approval letter done by the bank, which we're going to talk about today, and said specifically why he's interested in this business because he has industry experience. You want to know who got my attention? Not the first guy. Actually bought the business. It was a perfect fit. And he came prepared, he came qualified, and he was taken seriously. So the real question is, how do you position yourself as a serious buyer? Do you really need to get pre-qualified before looking at a business? Absolutely. Pre-qualification means you've spoken to the SBA or some sort of a lender. You don't really speak with the SBA just to be technical. You speak with the lender. SBA backs the deal, but sometimes just for sake of lingo, we say the SBA. We're really talking about the lender. And that lender has you've given some basic information to that lender. They know what your credit score is. They know what your cash position is. They know what your assets are. They know likely what your livable wage is. They know what you can afford, and they have some background on what an ideal business is. It's like a hall pass. It proves you can sit at the table with at least being taken seriously. Without it, sellers often think you're wasting time. With it, everything moves faster. So it's like shopping for a house. Nobody takes you seriously without a pre-approval letter. Same thing goes in business. So think of a pre-qualification letter as your golden ticket. No ticket, no entry. With a ticket, the doors open, and my goal here is to open as many doors as possible. But the ticket isn't enough just by itself. You've got to show who you are and why you're a good fit. So here's a question: what exactly is a buyer package and why does it matter? Here is something to increase the ticket to get to the table. It's like your credibility kit is what is putting together a buyer package. So it's three parts. It's a resume. It highlights your leadership, your management, your industry skills. It's proof of funds. some sort of a bank statement, a brokerage statement, a 401k, some sort of a screenshot that shows the money, like the old TV movie, Show Me the Money. That's what brokers want to see. And most of the time, brokers it will not disclose that. So you don't have to worry about giving them too much information. That when I get proof of funds, I'm not disclosing how much the buyer has to the seller. So the seller doesn't know. But me as a broker, I know that buyer has 10% down payment, and it's not someone that's going to try and raise the capital or come to me and say, "Oh, don't worry about the funds. I'll find it when it's time." That doesn't work. It's not being taken seriously. I want to see that they actually have cash in the bank, in their account, that's a good, solid 10% down payment. And then the final part of that credibility kit or the buyer's package is your background. Show how your skills transfer to business ownership. So, this is how you prove you're real. Sellers are handing over their life's work, their financials, the details about their business, what they've been working on for 10, 15, 20 plus years. And they want to make sure that they're not handing it over to someone who's not capable of writing a check or getting the financing, or worse, maybe they can write a check, but they're not capable of running the business. Let's be honest here. Sellers care, yes, about your ability to buy the business, but for many, it's your ability to operate the business, to take care of the employees, to take care of the customers. For a lot of sellers, their business is their identity. So, yes, you want to be able to buy the business, but they want to be able to know that they are selling the business to someone who cares, someone who's capable, someone who's going to take care of. Sometimes these people have employees that have been with them for decades that become family. And so it's hard from an emotional standpoint for sellers to walk away. So it's not always just about the price. Yeah, that's important, but it's making sure that the buyer, you as a buyer, have some sort of transferable skill set to show to the seller that you're capable of running their business, keeping their name, their legacy, and everything else that goes along with that business in operation. So imagine you're applying for a job. Would you just walk in and say, hire me? No, you bring a resume, and ideally, that resume builds you up as an ideal person for that job, or in this case, ideal person for the business, because you have some sort of experience or transferable skill. It's one of the things the bank is going to ask is, why are you the right buyer? Why are you the right operator for this business? Which means you should be looking at businesses that you do have industry experience with, or you do have some sort of ancillary experience with. I'll give you an example. I have a fantastic medical surgery business for sale. And you know what? The people who inquire and I look at their background bio and they do not have any sort of medical background, if they're certainly not a surgeon, if they at least have some sort of transferable medical skill where they can operate and manage other surgeons, then it's just not a fit. It doesn't matter that they have the money. The bank's not going to loan them the money if they don't have the right skill set to operate the business. So once you've got your package, the next is, how do you present it? And this is where presentation matters. Obviously, the content matters. The context is just as important. So, why does it really matter? Isn't it all about the money? Not really. As we talked about, sellers care who's taking over the business. A sloppy email, a sketchy Gmail address with random numbers, or an AOL email address, a half empty LinkedIn profile, it's not a great sign. Instead, get a clean email, a clean professional email address. I had literally someone contact me from Bunny, and I won't give the full email address, but Bunny, and then it had a couple random numbers at AOL.com. How does that even look from a professional standpoint? There's no name with it. I had no idea their first name, their last name. I couldn't look them up. I couldn't do anything. So get a clean professional email address. Polish your LinkedIn, your social media. Sellers and brokers check it. Now, here's a pro tip. Record a 30-second video intro. I use often a program called LOOM. It's like a free, you just hold up your camera or your video, and it's a free little program that you can just talk to and create these video clips. and introduce yourself to the broker and or the buyer. The seller. Let them know who you are, what your background is, why you're interested in this business, because you've got direct industry experience. Talk about it. Talk about your qualification, that you have the down payment, that you've got the pre-approval with the lender. That type of stuff will make you stick out and be taken very seriously from brokers and sellers. So I call this my 3P rule: package, profile, and presentation. Nail those three, and you'll look like a pro, even though you're a first time buyer. Now, let's talk about access to deal flow. Working with multiple brokers, as much as I want to tell you just work with me, the reality is I can't, and I don't list every single business in all across the country and every single city and state. So you should be working with multiple business brokers in your local area. So does that mean you just pick one to work with or reach out to a few? Honestly, I'd reach out to a bunch of them. 10, if you have that many in your area, reach out to all 10 of them. Establish relationships with all 10. All 10 of them have different listings, and there's no such thing as the MLS for businesses like there is for real estate. So you're going to get a bunch of listings from different brokers that they all have access to different deals, especially some independent, some franchise, and there's no central place. Now, I would love to help you on the buy side, so I can help you represent you as the buyer's broker, but you want to reach out to the listing broker to find ideal businesses in your area that are a good fit. Now, when you're on multiple lists, you simply multiply your chances of seeing or finding the right deal. And when you're fast to reply and you follow up with brokers and you have a good buyer package put together, you master those 3 Ps, you'll stick out to those 10 brokers. Now, I'll be honest with you, out of those 10 brokers, you're going to deal with probably 6 or 7 that are just downright awful. They are really bad to work with. But that's why I say reach out to 10, because you'll find 2 or 3 that are really well connected, that are doing most of the transactions in your area. So the goal is to reach out to a bunch of these. Now, if you're on every list, here's one thing that will sink you is being too far away. So stay local. This is really important. Why do you need to be local? Can't you just buy a business in another state? The online ad says it's absentee. You want to be absentee. So technically, can you? Yeah, you can, but I'll be honest, it's not a good recipe for success. Banks don't like it. Sellers don't trust it. Local buyers know the market. They have relationships. They can show up if something goes wrong. Remote buyers equals higher risk. And I'll tell you, I had a transaction that really truly was a remote med spa. Fantastic med spa, very unique situation. In fact, the employees didn't even know who the seller was. He never came in. He truly was remote. It's very rare to find that. I found the perfect buyer, a nurse practitioner that was going to take over, and from a credentialing standpoint, is the perfect fit. Here's the problem. He lived out of state and he wanted to buy something that could be done like kind of part time and go back and forth. Guess what? One of the bank's contingencies were prior to closing that he buy or rent a house in Las Vegas. He didn't live in Las Vegas. The bank literally would not finance the deal until he showed that he had roots on the ground and he was going to be here a good majority of the time. So some banks will force you to stay local, but just from a practical standpoint, you can't run a business very well when you are not involved at the very beginning, at least, and you're living totally out of state. So think about it like a little league coach. You don't hire a coach who lives 2 states away and then just hope the team manager takes care of everything and does everything. At that point, how much value really is happening? Sellers want to know that you're invested in the local community. But once you're local and connected, the way you communicate makes or breaks you. So, what's the number one way buyers blow their credibility? It's slow or sloppy communication. If you can't reply to an email in 24 hours, sellers and brokers assume you'll be slow in running the business. You can't make the decisions, you don't have the time, so be quick to respond. That's one of the ways you stand out. Ask smart questions. Make sure that you've done your research before the call. So communication is like oxygen in the deal. Without it, it dies. And if you want to know more about why this matters, look at the mistakes most buyers make. Here's some common mistakes. No proof of funds or no resume. They just shoot off an email, say, I'm interested, I want to look at the details. Another mistake is chasing a business multiple states away. Another one is writing casual, unprofessional emails to the broker. Another one is not building relationships with the brokers and the lenders early in the process. So each of these scream tire kickers, and tire kickers never get the first pick. They usually get what's left over. So let's wrap all of this up with some big takeaways. Serious buyers get first look at the best deals. You don't need to be rich, you just need to be prepared. Remember the 3P rule: package, profile, and presentation. That's what you need to do. Put a good package together based around your profile and present it well. Remember, the golden ticket is pre-qualification from a bank. And remember, this is like a job interview. You're asking for the key to someone else's life work. So treat it like you're taking it seriously. Now, one of the best things you can do on this page down below is fill out the link to get connected to one of my loan brokers. They will shop multiple banks based on your background, your experience, the industries, the price range, the state, and they will get you a pre-qualification letter. Now, if you want to go deeper, keep watching all of these videos step by step through the community and the videos that we put together. It'll walk you through everything from start to finish. It's completely free. There's no catch. It's just the exact roadmap I wish I had when I started. So join today. Links are in the comments. And if this episode helped you out, feel free to share it with anyone who's thought about buying a business or might be helping you along the buying business process. Most people never get this playbook. Now you do. So make something of it. Take care.